You're either the butcher or the cattle. Welcome back, everyone. This is Jason. Uh, man, very excited about doing this. I wanted to do this last season. I didn't have a chance to because sometimes we had cable, sometimes we didn't have cable. But I'm bound and determined to do this season, and that's review every episode of The Walking Dead season 5. Like I said, it's a first on this channel. Psyched about it. Let's get right into it. Man, if you're a crazy fan about The Walking Dead like I am, then you know that they released the first 4 minutes of this episode, the premiere episode of season 5, on their channel on YouTube, and on the AMC.com. They put it out on Facebook. They put it out several different places, and it looked great. It was intense. It was dark, and there's a reason why it was the first 4 minutes. Because if it was the first 5 minutes, I think it would have created an absolute insane stir. Because that mark right after the 4 minute mark, where we see Sam get killed, oh, it doesn't stop there. No. um, yeah, the gore factor on this one through the roof in the first 10 minutes of this episode. Um, I went, and normally TV shows and movies don't affect me like this, but this episode, I went from sitting on the edge of my couch like this to all the way back in the seat with my knees up in my chest. No lie. I wish there was a video camera on me because it would have made a great fan reaction video. Um, and it took me about 10 minutes for my knees to drop out of my chest because I was just like, like freaking out. Like, man, that shocked me. That really did. The whole, yeah, that was nuts. I don't think I've ever had a premiere or an episode period take me through so many different emotions throughout the entire episode, from shock, being scared, um, you're excited for them, and by the end of the episode you got a lump in your throat because you're choked up because they all got back together at the end. Oh, just an insane ride of emotions through this whole episode. um so this is episode 1, No Sanctuary. Now, I'm not going to go through every second of this, and this will contain spoilers, and I will do this for every episode. It will contain spoilers. So if you have not watched it yet, just get out of the episode, get out of this video now, because I'm going to delve into some stuff. All right, so um, yeah, like I said, if you saw the first 4 minutes, starts out kind of off. It's obviously a flashback for where Garrett and his brother are in one of the same cars, the train cars that um, Rick and his crew are in, and they're obviously being held hostage the same way, and they're scared, and it's like I said, this is the you know they do this through the whole episode where you're like, you know, back and forth several times because you see the same thing actually happen to them. So you're questioning your feelings. You're like, okay, these guys are bad from the last season because you know what they're doing. You know, it's a butcher shop. It's they're killing people. It's horrible. Well, um, you, you learn, the main thing is you learn that they used to be good people, and it's hard to believe that, but you see that by the end of the episode. Um, But you see Rick and Glenn and Daryl and Bob all get hauled off to meet their maker, basically, and along with 4 other guys. And we also see what happened to Sam. Sam showed up in season 4 with, I believe, who was his girlfriend or his sister. I forget what exactly she was, but she was the one with the limp that got eaten. Well, we never saw Sam again, and I think fans always kind of wondered. Well, we saw him in the one episode where they ran into Rick, and what happened to him? Well, we know in that first 5 minutes he meets his demise, and so do the other 3 guys next to him, right next to Glenn, and it's yeah, it's not pretty, and it happens so fast and so intense. There's no pause between them, and the looks on the guys' faces, on Rick and everyone else, they're like, it's been fun. It's been real. It's been fun, but now it ain't been real fun. uh, yeah, how they pulled that off, and then how they explained that. If you watch The Talking Dead, and if you're not, you're missing out. But if you watch The Talking Dead, they actually explain how they did that. They didn't show it, but they just talked about how they did the special effects, and they had the tube up there and squirting the blood. And, yeah, wow, it's wow. That's all I could say. The first 10 minutes of it through the whole thing was wow. And then the whole thing, well, Bob, tries to talk to the guy and say, hey, with this guy that we're with knows the cure, and we just got to get him to Washington. We can fix all this. We can start over. You just gotta believe us. And Garrett's like, whatever. Then the explosion from outside shakes the whole, building, and then we hit the starting credits, and the new intro video is pretty cool. It shows little snippets of the first 4 seasons. Even the guy wandering the field from season 2, yeah, season 2. Um, pretty good stuff. But yeah, and then we catch up with Carol and Tyrese, and Carol is still tough as nails. Tyrese, not so much. They come across a walker on the railroad tracks, and they're walking, and she's like, "You want to?" And he's like, "No, I can't do it yet. He just can't do it. He's got no nerve." And then they come across the building, and they're hiding from a wave of walkers, a herd, and the guy they run into, and they're like holding him hostage, and Carol's like, "Well, I'm gonna go to Terminus and take care of this, and how are you gonna do that? Well, I'm gonna kill people. She's being a smartass, but she's like, I'm gonna do what I have to do. And she really, wow, talk about Carol going off on a recon mission, covers herself. He had a bit of a flashback from season 1, where I believe the episode was called Guts, where they covered themselves in guts from head to toe and smeared on the face and everything. And she just, first she completely blows a hole in the fence from taking out the big propane tank or whatever, that fuel tank. And then, and that's the explosion we see in the trailer. Just great, like a Michael Bay explosion. It's Mike used to call it Michael Bay-esque, I guess. Um, and then she just strolls in with the rest of them, and pretty stealth like, pretty slick. I'm pretty proud of Carol. She's really, wow. What she's gone through from last season till now, to where she had to, what she did with the kids and everything, and then trying to raise them, and then to the girls at the end of the season. It's unbelievable. I mean, she really has transformed as a character totally. And by the end of this episode, we see excuse me. By the end of this episode, we see that Tyrese has grown his cojones back and done what he needed to do to protect himself and Judith, which was good to see. Um, yeah, he just got downright nasty at the end there, totally. Um, and to go into the rest of it, um, just absolute chaos. Everyone gets free and everyone gets out, and and how they did it was great. They used they used the walkers to their advantage. They really did. They took out who they had to take out and just let the walkers do the rest. And pretty slick, pretty badass. And one little off thing in the episode towards the end, before everyone gets freed, uh, they start when the chaos starts and everyone else is still sitting in that one train car, and they're talking to um, Doc, and they're like, "Hey, what's this formula for Washington that you've got that you're carrying?" Because they're all thinking, okay, and they don't say this, but they're being smart about this. They're like, well, if none of us or only some of us make it out of here alive, we need to know what to do to take what you know to Washington. Because if you don't make it, then this whole trip is for nothing. So they try to get it out of him. And he's like, it's top secret. And they're like, well, you need to tell us, and Sergeant Abraham's like, yep, and I back him up and whatever. And the others are like, well, you need to fess up. And he starts talking about it, but he's real generic with his answers, just real general about, oh, information and information and information and this and this and this, and never specifically says anything. So it sounds kind of hem and haw. He's hemming and hawing about it. He's never comes right out and says what they want to tell him. But then everything else happens, and I think it just kind of gets forgotten about. And I think he's kind of relieved because, well, we find out. I don't want to give that away. But anyways, um, so yeah, it sounds kind of fishy, is what it is. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. But they all get out. They all get reconnected. Um, Tyrese comes out of the cabin because he saves Judith's life and his own life. And when he comes out, Rick's walking up with Carl. So Rick and Carl are united with Judith. We see Daryl is reunited with Carol. And while everyone's all emotional, this is the part where I'm talking about. You go from all freaked out with the horror and the gore and everything to where you got a lump in the throat because it's an emotional um, reuniting with everyone. It really is, and and Abraham and the doc and what's her name, Rosita, they're all sitting there and they're just kind of like, now what, and they're like, well, we need to get away from this place, blah 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 blah. Well, Abraham is obviously like, well, we have an agenda to keep to, but we'll get to that down the line. He kind of mumbles that and he's like, we'll just go with him for now. And doesn't make a big deal out of it. But obviously, there's going to be a point in the next episode or a few episodes where, Rick's goal in all this and whatever they decide to do next, and Abraham's goal is obviously going to be a conflict. We see that in the trailer, just real snippets of them, kind of in each other's face. You can tell they're arguing. And we also notice that somehow, some way, Garrett gets out of there alive. They don't all get killed. Um, So we're going to see him down the road too. Oh, one other thing. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I apologize. Um, the confrontation between Carol and Terminus Mary, the one we saw at the end of the season, and in this one, in a couple different scenes, we see her currently, and we see a flashback, and she tries. It's a little hard to tell if you go back and you watch it again. She's basically trying to confess stuff to Carol, saying, "Hey, we once were good. We weren't always like this." And she's trying to explain herself a little bit, but it comes out all weird and awkward. And they wrestle, and they try to kill each other, and then finally Carol's like, "I'm washing my hands of this," and backs up and lets in the walkers, and it's what do they call it, Tracy?
What?
That scene with Mary gets killed.
Oh, dinner by candlelight.
Dinner by candlelight. Thank you. It's a dinner by candlelight, yes, and Mary was the main course. So yeah, that was intense. And then at the not at the very end, but at the end, we see another then shot of Mary, a flashback where Mary gets thrown back into the train cart, and she's beat up. You can tell she was abused. That's all I'm gonna say. And then they pick out another girl and drag her out. She's like, "No, no, not again." So you can tell they're like ravishing these women in a really bad way and abusing them. And we don't realize until that last scene there that Mary is actually Garrett's mom. And that's what I'm talking about with this emotional ride that this episode takes you through. Because you go through the whole episode basically like, "Yeah, get up," and the walkers are jumping on them, and they're like, "Yeah," so it's like the walkers and Rick's group are like comboing the good guy effect here, and you want them all to, take out Garrett's whole group. And then all of a sudden, this scene happens where you see them back in the train car, and you look at what they used to be and realize that they were also in this same situation where they were, abused and about to die, and understand how then they fought their way out of there somehow and took the place back that used to be theirs, and obviously had to do horrible things. So you go from hating them to feeling sorry for them, just minutes later. It's like, oh, man, it's unreal. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where Garrett falls in line with all this. And obviously there's going to be a whole new emotional mess in dealing with him because he makes it somehow. And then, you see, that's the end. And then you see the preview for the next episodes, or, this upcoming in the season, those shots. And then right after that, and you see a gentleman walking down the railroad tracks. And then he stops at the sign and he turns around, and he's hooded and he's got a mask and he's got a walking stick or a weapon or whatever. And he looks badass, like someone straight out of some video game from the future. Takes the hood off, takes the mask off. It's Morgan. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Morgan is back. So awesome. We were watching the marathon leading up to this on and off over the last couple of days. The one episode I did see practically in its entirety while I was sitting down between doing other stuff was Clear. One of the best episodes in the entire series of The Walking Dead was the acting from Morgan. And I was just saying to my wife, Tracy, I'm like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if they brought him back somehow, some way? We get to see him, leave his town and meet up with Rick again, or what, something to that effect, to see what happened to him later. A flashback, or just show him again somehow, some way in the storyline. Well, he looks great, you know. Obviously, he had some kind of, um, you know, rebirth, rejuvenation, something in his mental capacity to leave where he was and to go seek out the company of other people, because he was following those tracks, just like Rick and everyone else from the group, you know, looking for sanctuary, looking for companionship, you know, to form a team with someone, something to that effect, just to look for other people, other survivors. And obviously, that meeting in the last season with Rick did something to him. So yeah, we see that, you know, going through the whole roller coaster of emotions, and then finally, all of a sudden, you know, a big high at the end of the episode. We see Morgan is back. So yeah, an absolute crazy storm, ups and downs and lefts and rights, everything throughout this whole episode. The gore factor up here, the emotional factor up here. It's just wow. Um, Great season premiere. I'm probably gonna go watch it again, you know, once or twice just to see, you know, whatever. Um, I saw some people online asking questions about who was the gentleman that came in the car at the end who had attacked Garrett's group first. Said it looked like Negan. No, it's not Negan. It was just you know, just the bad group from before. Um, I had almost thought it was that same group of guys that attacked Rick, you know, towards the end of the last season. The one that maybe one of the guys where, you know, oh no, they were with Daryl, but then confronted Rick towards the end. Um, I thought it was maybe those same guys, but it wasn't. Just another bunch of guys, and it wasn't Negan. That's not to say we're not going to see Negan by the end of the season, because obviously we know they're going to come across some other conflicts. So, first episode in the can, loved it. Did you love it as much as I did? Put in the comments below. Are you excited for this season? I'm ecstatic. So that's it. And I don't know if I'm going to do any other discussion videos along with this. If some, you know, some rumors come out or something that's like insanely worth discussing, I may do more. But for now, I'm just going to plan on doing the episode reviews. Like I said, very excited about it. Hope you are going to stick around for the ride. And yeah, I know most of the videos I do on this channel are wrestling related, but you know, I want to do videos about other things that I love too. You know, not just wrestling. This is one of them, The Walking Dead. Thanks for watching, guys.